Should we get started?
Yeah, let's say, are you ready? Okay, so this is like the live tape. We're going to start, and if we have the cool circle with the numbers that would count down, we do that. So here we go. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to the Southwedge Mission. My name is Matthew. This is Greg. And this is our first of our midweek Mindful Vespers offering. This is a time when we hope to combine music and different meditation and contemplation practices in order to create a space not of performance but of participation. Although, as Greg will tell us, performance can also involve us all in sorts of different skills and movements. As we enter into this space, it's important to know that even though I'm a priest and we're in a church, that this is considered an inter-practice space. We can come from a variety of different stories, a variety of different religious beliefs or lack thereof, or in the process of creating. But we come together to share a common practice, and we can bring the story that the word God or the story that the word being means for us without having to change it or fit it into anyone else's categories, and gather together around the practice as companions on this journey. So wherever you're at, wherever you might not be, welcome to this space. Welcome to Midweek Mindful Vespers. I'm going to turn it over to Greg to introduce the practice for tonight.
As Matthew said, our goal for this is to be a type of mindfulness practice, a form. There are many interesting forms of mindfulness practice, from ecstatic practices like the whirling dervishes of Sufism, to, of course, contemplative prayer and Buddhist Vipassana mindfulness meditations, which are the type that I'm most familiar with and most sort of have the most background with. We really want to invite you to be physically involved in this, to be all in with your presence here. In a sense, as Matthew said, it could be correct to say that this is not a performance, that this is a practice. But I actually like to challenge that separation. I think when a seasoned performer is doing their thing, they really erase the boundaries between their life and their practice and their performance, and they bring all of themselves to all of it. Just like a seasoned meditator tries to erase the boundaries between their formal sitting practice and the rest of their lives. So we strive for that. I'm still striving for it so much. As we strive for that, we want you to have the same kind of engagement in this moment. Your experience of this half hour is happening in your body. Your attention is creating it. You've already started creating it just by being here. And so I truly mean it when I say that this time, this group of people, this body is whole and perfect because you are here. When we feel things, we feel them in our bodies. And when we practice feeling and noticing feeling in our bodies, it is the best technology that I know of to get us out of the unproductive river of our heads and the just torrent of thoughts that are going on up there all the time. And so the music and all of the art that we'll share tonight becomes this tool for unity, for we invite you into sort of our emotional and bodily experience, and it becomes this non-dual collective practice. We'll do this with some poetry as well. We're highlighting one of our mutual favorite poets tonight, Christian Wiman. If you want to read along, you can certainly Google the two poems that we're going to read. It's After the Diagnosis and My Stop is Grand. Actually, if somebody wants to type those into the chat, After the Diagnosis and My Stop is Grand. You can certainly read along. You could just listen to. I would encourage encourage you to think about, there's this fantastic definition of poetry that I love. It's by the French poet Paul Valéry. He says that a poem is a brief hesitation between sound and sense. Sorry, not a brief hesitation, the prolonged hesitation between sound and sense. The prolonged hesitation between sound and sense. These aren't fixed ideas or puzzles or problems to be solved, but another tool for sort of stirring up a specific kind of energy in our bodies that we can just watch and enjoy his sort of virtuosic curation of language. We've decided to sort of put a theme around this practice tonight of contraction and expansion. These are the two of the feelings in our body that really track onto a lot of the feelings and emotions that we associate with suffering and flourishing. If you ask people where are they feeling anxiety, where are they feeling fear, most people talk about it as this contraction in their chest. And so when we notice those things, we can start to just cue into where we're at right now. We also like this theme because contraction and expansion just exist on a number of different time scales, right? Everything from, of course, you probably instantly thought of breathing, right? Happens on this really small scale. Our music right now, we discussed that we'd be thinking about and trying to feel as much as we could in the practice, a sense of expansion and contraction. Expansion and contraction go all the way from breathing all the way to being born and living and dying. It gives proof to this truth, evidence, I would say, to this truth that everything arises and passes away. And so, the basic mindfulness instruction is just to keep track of what we would call an object of awareness. You're going to pick a thing out of the vast, vast field of all the things that you could be aware of right now. And at first, pick something that is kind of steady and simple and won't pull you into that stream of chatter in your brain. And you stay with it, and you notice everything you can about it. Subtle sensitivity is the name of the game. Now, other things will arise. You will think thoughts. Things in your environment will distract you. This may happen nearly constantly, and that is okay. I want you to say to yourself out loud, right now, right after me, there is no such thing as a bad meditation session. We and everyone else and everything around us give ourselves plenty of shame already. I mean, our minds are thinking machines. That's what they are built to do. Meditation is not about stopping thought. It's about not getting caught in the stream. So when you do get in the stream, just come back to your object. Eventually, you'll actually be able to use whatever it was that got you into the stream as your object. And there's this wonderful reminder I like from Mingyur Rinpoche. He says, if you can see the river, you're not in the river. So the music tonight can do a couple of things. It can be your object. You can notice every possible detail that you can hear, from really concrete but subtle micro changes in the rhythm and the volume how it makes your body feel or how it relates to feelings that are already in your body. And then it can also be a cue, a bit of a reminder when you're stuck in the stream, when you're in the stream, that, hey, boom, hear that noise? Come back, come back. It's cool. So feel the weight of your body and feel whatever is supporting you now. And just start to drop in.
After the Diagnosis by Christian Wiman. No remembering now when the apple sapling was blown almost out of the ground. No telling how. With all the other trees alone around it, alone was struck. It must have been luck, he thought for years, so close to the house it grew. It must have been night. Change is a thing one sleeps through when young, and he was young. There was a weakness in the earth, a give he went down on his knees to find and feel the limits of. There is no longer. There was one random blow from above, the way he's come to know from years in this place, the roots were stronger. Whatever the case, he has watched this tree survive wind ripping at his roof for nights on end, heats and blights that left little else alive. No remembering. A day's changes mean all to him, and all days come down to one clear pain through which he sees among all the other trees this leaning, clenched, unyielding one that seems cast in the form of a blast that would have killed it, as if something at the heart of things and with the heart of things had willed it. If you're not familiar with the work of Christian Wiman, this poem embodies it. Christian Wiman is someone who suffered very deeply from a bone cancer, I believe. It almost killed him. His work is an invitation for us to find that, what he calls the scar on the soul, the burn on our heart that is left when we encounter the real. To discover that as much as we all long for the expansion, the bigness, the pleasure, the joy of life, and oh, how good it is to yearn and to experience those things. Meditation, spirituality practice also invites us into the gift of receiving what one of my teachers in college called the sorrowful joy. The joy that also comes from knowing ourselves fully alive, fully unyielding, like this tree in the poem. So as we breathe in and breathe out and think about contractions as well as expansions, how contractions are the force which pushes forth a new life into the world. As we come to this anniversary and this nearing, we hope, the end of this COVID tide, and as we are eager for spring to burst forth from the ground, we also think of the contractions that have happened this year. The ways that even though joy and pleasure invite us to celebrate, contraction and suffering, though we do not will them on anyone or want them for anyone, can also in a mysterious way image and give us access to something real. And when we practice that, just as a woman giving birth practices her breath, practices contraction, and cannot prepare for the time when the pain will come, at least I'm told by our partners, and have not experienced with my body, but have experienced in my soul, and maybe you have too. You know the experience of giving birth out of contraction. Our practice is a gift. As we breathe in and breathe out, practicing finding those signs of life within us and receiving the gift of the fullness of our humanity, so that not only we can be present to it, but also be present to others as witnesses, as companions, as fellow practitioners. Poetry is a great place to experience that, and so is hymnody. And while we said this is not a specific group on any particular tradition, we're going to play an old hymn. And maybe for some of us, singing an old hymn will cause a contraction because we've been hurt, because our spirituality and our spiritual self has been wounded by someone who wielded these hymns as weapons rather than giving them as gifts. And if that's the case and it's causing that, you can just turn off the volume and have a silent meditation. That's okay. And I invite you to hold this hymn, to sing along if you like, to understand whatever you need to from it, as a sign that your spirit is not dead, that something in you is longing to be born out of the contractions, out of the hard times. To sing this hymn in defiance of those who would take away our practice and say, this is something being born in me. I do know what it is, but I know it does not deceive me, for it comes from the deepest part of me that is good, that is light, and that is beloved. The hymn will come after another poem by Christian Wiman called My Stop is Grand. I'm going to take off my guitar. I invite you to just start breathing in and out with the rhythm. Feel the rhythm in Greg's playing. Feel the places in your body where you feel contraction, and let your breath flow through them, and offer the gift not to expand past them, but to expand into them, to feel yourself integrated and expanded in the fullness of who you are. Offer gentle, non-judgmental, compassionate breaths. giving birth. Something is being born. My Stop is Grand by Christian Wiman. My stop is grand. I have no illusion. Some fusion of force and form will save me. Bewilderment of bone light ungrave me as when the L shooting through a hell of ratty alleys where nothing thrives but soot, and the rat-like lives that have learned to eat it, screechingly peacocked, a grace of sparks. So far out and above the fast curve that jostled and fastened us into a single shock of, we'll not call it love, but at least some brief, no doubt illusionary belief that in one surge of brain we were all seeing one thing: alone, unearned loveliness struck from an iron pain. Already it was gone. Already it was bone. The gray sky and the encroaching skyline packed so clean by raptor night, I shuddered at the cold gleam we hurtled towards like some insentient herd plunging underground at Clark and Division. And yet all that day I had a kind of vision that's never gone completely away, of immense clear-paned towers and endlessly expendable hours through which I walked teeming human streets, filled with a shine that was most intimately me and not mine. Dear Thank you for joining us tonight, this pilot episode, if you will, or session. For those who took the time to be with us, especially on Zoom. Normally after this time we gather either on Zoom or outside to continue conversation and hear how you experience the practice. And we'd love to hear about that. Either just write to us, because I don't know if there's a comment section tonight, but if you're watching this online, you can share. I hope that this practice will carry with you this week, that you can notice places of contraction and expansion, of being present to the forms that the mystery takes, using the palette of colors of suffering and hardship and revealing beauty, but also finding just beauty and joy as well. We're going to send you off by ringing our bell, which is inscribed with the Japanese sign of serenity or peace. I invite you to stay until the end of the bell's ringing, and then to go forth to practice, to go forth in presence, and to go forth in peace. Thank you again for making us complete this night.